Thank you, everybody. Good to be back in Sao Paulo with you. We, of course, missed everyone during the pandemic for a couple years, but we are glad to be back last year and here again to share winter. Those of you who know me know I like coming when it's nice and cold because we live in Las Vegas where it's very hot. And so coming down to Sao Paulo in the winter is a very nice treat for all of us. So I wanted to spend some time with you sharing the information that I work with CIOs and CFOs around the world, helping them navigate this really complex world that we live in. And things change pretty dramatically every single year. And so I wanted to share with you a bunch of ideas. But the first one that's most important is this idea that we used to think about growth or profitability. And every CFO knows we have to make trade-offs between, are we going to grow fast and make significant spending investments, or are we going to focus on profitability, which generally requires you to slow growth a little bit because of the way you're going to try and save money to drop, as we say, to the bottom line and improve profitability. What's changed in the last year dramatically is, especially for public companies that are traded on the stock exchange like we are, you have to now deliver both. The investors want growth and profitability from your organization. That's a really difficult thing to do because you have to figure out this dance between spending and dropping money to the bottom line for profit. And what I spend my time doing these days is working with CFOs and CIOs and chief procurement officers and CEOs to help them navigate how do we balance growth and profit at the same time. And it is an art to be able to do that. But first, as clients of Rimini Street, I wanted to spend a moment to focus on the company update. We're a critical supplier for you, anyone we're doing work for. And of course, we cover just about every industry in the world and a lot of government, even government here in Brazil. And so I wanted to share with you our growth. Now over 5,200 clients around the world. We operate in 21 different countries, and actually it's really 23, including our two latest countries where we've added employees in both the Philippines and in Thailand and Malaysia. So we've really expanded quite a bit. And we continue to expand. We're over 2,000 employees full-time, and we have over 1,000 part-time specialists that we use as well. And Brazil is our second largest operation in the world in terms of the number of people who are dedicated in a single area, such as Sao Paulo. We're over 200 people in Brazil now after 10 years here. Again, very, very large. This is one of our centers of operation covering North and South America and around the world. The Brazilian team here is one of the top specialist teams we have, helping global clients 24 hours a day, 7 days a week around the world. So an exciting, important operation for us. This is one of our 2 lab operations. We have one in India with 1,000 people in it as well. But this is our biggest growing center, and we're continuing to expand our operations here quite a bit in the future. As Edenise mentioned, we, like you, have to hire excellent people, and that's challenging. And we have, I think, currently at any one time, 400 open positions. So we're having to hire a lot of good people over time. So our revenue continues to grow, our client base grows, the product lines and services that we're offering grows, and we'll talk more about those. And you can see globally, 50% of our revenue comes from the United States, 50% from the rest of the world. So we truly are a global company. When I talk about having the best people and I talk about all the things that we have to do in this area, you have to be a great place to work these days. As you well know, hiring great people, retaining great people means you have to run a really great company. And so we focus a lot on this area of the business. Very, very important going forward. Also very interesting is we have CIOs who continue to win awards, the best of the best. They're making investments, they're making decisions about how to balance that innovation versus optimization. And Ingo Pass is just one of our CIOs who made bold decisions in this area and has won awards for green cargo out of Sweden. Again, very, very proud of this, and we continue. Even here in Brazil, we've had CIO winners that have come in the past, and we look forward to more of them in the future. And of course, we're a company not just focused on growth and profit for investors around the world, but we are also focused on community. We are a company that believes in giving back many focused areas around the world, all the different communities, especially here in Brazil, India, and other places where we have large operations. So this is an important part of our business. As we say, for our people, they're focused on their careers, their passions, serving clients. But when you can take your profits and push those back into the community, we say that that is the work we do from the heart. And we're all very involved, and it's so good post-pandemic for us to be out in the community again, not just providing money, but actually out in the community with our teams once again. So it's great to be back out there. So let's focus on 10 global insights I wanted to share with you from all this work I'm doing around the world and summarize it for you and share it with you. First, we all know what an amazing time of challenges, political, financial, business and technology changes. 3 months ago, who would have heard of ChatGPT? Now your boards, everyone, oh, are you implementing ChatGPT? How many jobs are you changing? How many roles are you changing? How's your business changing? That's how fast things happen. A few years ago, it was the cloud, right? Oh, we're a cloud-first company. Everything we do is going to be in the cloud. And now half of you are probably saying, oh my God, my cost of cloud is so high. It was supposed to save me money. Now I've got 10 different clouds. I'm a multi-cloud company. And my costs are going crazy. And now I need to have a project to come in and rationalize my clouds. Figure out, what am I doing with all these clouds? Do I have too many clouds? But this is the truth. So these things happen and we go all in and then we try to figure it out. SaaS software. Oh, sounded really good. We don't have as much upfront cost. But as the economics showed, it's actually 3 to 4 times more expensive than the old perpetual license model. But now it's starting to affect us because now everyone's raising the price on those SaaS products. I was with a client the other day up in Boston, and I was amazed when he said to me, he goes, you know, Oracle's always been our worst vendor. Not a surprise. I'm sure a lot of you feel that. The vendor we least like working with is Oracle. And they said, you know, that's changed. Now Salesforce is our worst vendor. So if you haven't had the conversations with Salesforce about your renewals and extensions, that's coming. But it was very interesting to hear even that's changing. Who's the worst versus who's the best. But when you look at all these challenges, the amazing part is there are businesses that we work with that look at this list and they say they see opportunity. The opportunity to navigate this better than their competitors. Maybe it's how much cash they keep and put to use. Maybe it's mergers and acquisition opportunity, weaker competitors that aren't going to survive this change in economics that they can buy cheap. But there are many different strategies. But I think when you look at this list, what I want you to walk away with is this is opportunity, not just challenge. If you can figure out how to navigate this better than everyone else, you will grow your business. If you fail to navigate this, you're in trouble. It's the facts of life. This is what we have to deal with. Now, profit pressures are huge. We know this. We've seen it. The cost of goods, transportation, shipping, all of these costs have gone up. But we live in a very competitive world, and it's very difficult for a lot of businesses to pass on all the cost to their buyers, which means profits are being squeezed. If you're in the retail business, it's one of the worst. A lot of problems in retail. And if you've got such a small margin, you have to find ways to optimize cost. Because if you don't optimize that cost, your profits are not going to be there. And your stock price and investors will be very unhappy. But you can see, CFOs, look at the numbers. It's what you already know, but it's all there in the surveys. Now, the 10 strategies. The first one to note, a lot of problems with board of directors. Those of you in the IT business know that for most companies, IT is still seen as a cost center, not an innovation asset. This is causing a lot of issues for companies, just as I'm sure you're seeing. A lot of companies have made big investments in digital transformation over the years. Now, we can argue about what digital transformation means because no one really knows. It's sort of whatever it means to your company. But the reality is, boards are saying, what happened? We spent all this money. What did we get? What's the ROI? And so boards are not so helpful for a lot of companies right now. They're asking a lot of tough questions, and they're asking a lot about whether this is an asset or a liability. And we're working with a lot of different companies to help them transition the image of IT from cost center to an actual asset. And those of you in the room know you have to do this. This is one of the key success factors for IT leaders in the next 3 years. Absolutely. Otherwise, you're not going to get budget in order to move the business forward. Second, there's a reason why CIOs have an average tenure of 3 years. Because the job is extremely difficult. You're being asked to figure out what technology is going to be the right technology for your organization 10 years from now. We don't know what the new technology is a week from now. But you're supposed to magically figure out what the company needs for the next 10 years. So, while some of you may be witches and warlocks and you may have magical powers, the majority of us have real challenges in figuring out what 10 years is going to look like because the investments we make are long-term. They take years of implementation, and then we have to get a return on that investment for years. And that leaves a lot of CIOs in big trouble. It leaves a lot of CFOs in big trouble. And CFOs, have a different way of thinking. Those of you in the room know that. They think about lifespan of investments. They think about how long is the useful life of an asset. I buy a truck, a delivery truck. How many years am I going to be able to use that truck? But they think the same way about these huge software investments. And if you're a CIO and you can't talk the language of a CFO in terms of useful life of the asset, how long until it needs to be replaced, the return on the investment, if you can't talk that way to the CFO, then you're not communicating, and it's going to be very hard to get the budget support that you need for innovation projects. So those of you in the room who are CIOs and working on the side of IT need to speak the language of finance, because this is what the board is thinking today. They think in terms of assets. They think in terms of return on investment. That's the language you need to bring. Because the truth is, the board doesn't care what version of SAP you're running. They don't care even really what the product is you're running. When you say, oh, I want to go to SAP S/4HANA, they look at you, who cares? I want to understand, what's it going to do for the business? What's my ROI? That's all I care about. I don't care whether you buy this brand of truck or that brand. I just want to understand the cost, the return on investment, and how it looks against other opportunities. That's the language of finance. And too many people in IT don't understand that the board and the CFO don't care what version you want to run. Okay? And they get caught up in that, it's a new version. They say, who cares? Okay? So recognize that. What's it mean to deliver successful IT? This is a definition you really need to wrap your head around as people, as executives in the IT function, and for those in the finance function. It is the allocation of resources. You have a set amount of resources to allocate in IT. People, time, and money. And I can assure you, if you were at Apple, which has more cash than most countries combined, their IT department still has a budget, and they still cannot do everything that the company wants them to do. That's the definition of a constrained asset, which means how you decide to spend the money, the people, labor, and the time, that combination to achieve the goals of the company is the difference between successful IT and making the wrong investments that do not move the business objective forward and leave you looking like a cost center to the board. And so what we spend our time with more and more at Rimini Street is helping you figure out what the mix is of proper spending of money, people, and time to get the most effective outcome for your business. And this is what CIOs and CFOs need to be spending their time doing, is that same planning cycle. And too much today is driven by the software vendors, your SIs, and if there's any in the room, don't mean to insult you, but we call it the cartel. And the reason we call it the cartel is because they make you dance to their music every day.